What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to Week 15 NFL picks and predictions. Our season total is now 134, 73, and 1 on the season, bringing us to a 64.7% win rate on the year. I like to compare that with the number one spot on ESPN Pigskin Pick'em every week. The number one guy there is at 155 and 50 on the season, which is a 75.6% win rate on the year. Last week, though, we took a hit to the record, going 6-8 on the week, our worst week of the season. I think, though, a lot of people struggled last week. There was a lot of upsets like the Titans, the Jets, the Saints, the Steelers. So we're hoping to definitely have a better week this week. But let's get started here with the Falcons at 4-9, at the Buccaneers 7-6. 95% of people siding with the Buccaneers. I'm going to take that side as well. But I don't love the way this Buccaneers defense has been playing. I don't think they can cover all that well. I think their O-line is really banged up. I think that Baker Mayfield is also kind of banged up, definitely not at 100%. And obviously, the Falcons' offense has not been great this season, but I do worry about Bijan Robinson. I still think he's a top five back in this league. Um, both of these teams are kind of in similar spots too. I mean, they kind of started the season hot. You had the Buccaneers starting this season at 5-1, now at 7-6. You had the Falcons starting the season at 3-2, now 4-9. But you have the Bucks here playing their third consecutive game at home. Obviously, the Bucks won the first matchup of the season against the Falcons, Week 1, 23-20. I can see that kind of similar score line. Give me the Bucks to win this game, 24-17 at home. Then we have the Ravens at 6-7, at the Bengals 4-9. Give me 45% of people picking the Bengals. Obviously, this is a must-win game for both of these teams. It kind of looks like whoever wins the AFC North is going to be the only team coming out of that division into the playoffs. Surprisingly, 8-9 could still win this division if the Bengals win out. Obviously, the Bengals really should have won last week versus Buffalo, but they just could not get the job done. A lot of turnovers, a lot of sloppy play in that snowy game against the Bills. But Burrow has definitely elevated this offense right off the bat in the first two games. You know, the Bengals, they've scored 30 plus points. So they've obviously looked a lot better on offense with Burrow there. And I'm looking at Lamar Jackson and Henry for the Ravens. They just kind of look like shells of themselves. Lamar Jackson's another quarterback that I don't think is at 100%. Um, and I do, kind of like the weapons that the Ravens have in Zay Flowers, in Isaiah Likely. But to me, I'm kind of asking the question, is that enough to keep up with the Bengals offense, this high-powered offense that the Bengals are bringing to the table? Give me the Bengals to win this game 28-24. This is an absolute must-win game for the Bengals. If they don't win this game, they're out. Kind of similar situation for the Ravens. We're kind of getting to that playoff football type of atmosphere here. Then we have the Chargers, who just won here on Monday Night Football at 9-4, at the Chiefs 6-7. Give me 60% of people picking the Chiefs. The Chiefs, they've lost four of their last five games. They're mathematically eliminated from winning the AFC West this season, which I believe they've won that division for at least 10 plus years. Um, but this team can still finish at 10-7 on the season, can still make the playoffs. They have a relatively easy schedule, finishing off with the Raiders and the Titans. I'm personally not as low on the Chiefs as a lot of other people. I think they've played a lot of good teams in the last five games, in the Bills, in the Broncos, in the Texans, the Cowboys, the Colts. And I'm looking at this game. This is a home game for the Chiefs. The Chiefs don't lose often at home. They've only lost twice at home. This season, once to the Eagles, once to the Texans last week. This is going to be the second consecutive home game for the Chiefs in sub 30-degree weather. I'm looking at the Chargers' offensive line. I think it's a real issue. I think it's a bottom five unit in the NFL. And Herbert obviously is dealing with a left broken hand. So I think in that cold environment, it's definitely not going to help things. The Chiefs also have a day's rest on the Chargers. Give me the desperate Chiefs to go 26-23 to win this game, beating my Chargers. Then we have the Bills at 9-4, at the Patriots 11-2. Give me 58% of people picking the Bills. Obviously, the Patriots are on a 10-game winning streak. They hold the longest winning streak in the NFL, tied with the Broncos. But like a lot of people have said this season, I think their schedule has been relatively light. I think the Patriots are still a beatable team. The Patriots are really good at stopping the run on their defense. I think that they could kind of eliminate James Cook from this equation of this game, but I still think you can pass on this defense. I think that Josh Allen could have a nice performance against this Patriots defense. I'm looking at this injury report as well for the Bills. It looks like right tackle Spencer Brown could be coming back for the Bills, as well as Joshua Palmer and Joey Bosa. So obviously some very big pieces there for the Bills to keep your eye out on. But I think the Bills, in order to win this game, I think it's really important that they get out to an early lead against this Patriots team. It's going to be tough, though, because the Patriots, they're coming off the bye, and it's going to be interesting to see what kind of game plan Vrabel has come up here for Drake May in this game. But give me the Bills to win this game 25-20. Then we have the Packers at 9-3-1 at the Broncos 11-2. Give me the Packers to win this game with 37% of people picking them. I don't think the Broncos are necessarily frauds, but I don't think that they're nearly as good as their record indicates at 11-2. It's going to be interesting to see how they perform in the final 4 games here against the Packers, the Jaguars, the Chiefs, the Chargers, because I think they have some real opponents there. But the Broncos defense, I think it's kind of taken a little bit of a step down. We really were talking about it a lot at the start of the season, how good that front seven was, but they've been a little bit quiet as of recent. And I think the Packers, they've kind of found their identity. They have a great defense. They have a great running game with Jacobs. And now with Watson back and getting Reed slowly back as well, I think that that's really helping Jordan Love out a lot. Obviously, you wish you had Kraft here, but that is not the case. One thing, obviously, I do worry about is this Broncos home field advantage. I think it's a great home field advantage in Denver in that altitude. And I'm looking at the Packers. I know a lot of people say this, but I think it's true. The Packers are a young team, and I worry about that going up against the Sean Payton, coach team. But give me the Packers to win this game. I think the Packers are kind of, a legit team here. So give me them, to knock off the Broncos. I think the Broncos are due for a loss. Then we have the Lions 8-5 at the Rams 10-3. I'm gonna side with 60% of people picking the Rams. I hate picking this game because I think both teams really need this game badly. The Packers and the Bears, they're at 9 wins in the NFC North. You have the Seahawks, at 10 wins in the NFC West. So both of these teams need this game. My gut is telling me the Rams in this game, just because the Lions, they've gone through some rough patches in the season. Obviously, Dan Campbell took over play calling duties midway through the season, which is never a good thing. And the Lions, they've just dealt with a lot of, injuries this season and everything else. But I'm looking at the Rams here. They're the least penalized team in the league. Blake Corum, he's been running as well as any running back in the league. This Lions defense, they've given about 30 points a game in the last 3 games, so they have not been good. And I think Puka and Stafford, they do just enough in this game to inch it out 30-27. I think it's going to be a great game, kind of high scoring, even with the Rams' quality defense. But you're looking at this game, the Lions are coming off of kind of a mini bye. The Lions do have 4 days rest on the Rams, so you have to keep an eye out on that. But nonetheless, I think the Rams right now should probably be the favorites to win the Super Bowl. I know I said that quite a few weeks ago, but I still believe that. I think the Rams are a very complete team. So with that said, let's go to the last game I'm going to talk about here. We have the Colts at 8-5 at the Seahawks 10-3. Give me the Seahawks with 85% of people picking them. You definitely have to feel for the Colts. They started the season 7-1, and then they went all in, trading 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner, just for Daniel Jones to go down with a torn Achilles a couple of weeks later. But I think the Seahawks, they take care of business here. They have an elite defense. They haven't allowed a touchdown in their last 2 games. I think they have an elite home field advantage, probably the best receiver in the NFL, good running backs in Charbonnet and Walker. I think Sam Darnold is playing fantastic football. And I think it's really important that the Seahawks get the number 1 seed here in the NFC get home field advantage because that would really help them in this situation. I think home field advantage would be a big deal for this Seahawks team. And like I've been saying about the Colts all season long, the Colts don't play nearly as good outdoors as they do indoors. The Colts are 2-3 playing outdoors this season. Obviously, the Seahawks play outdoors, and just the Colts are really in trouble at the quarterback position. They're calling Philip Rivers to see if he's going to come out of retirement to play, which is interesting because Philip Rivers is probably my favorite player of all time. But nonetheless, in the big 2025, you don't want 44-year-old Philip Rivers coming in to save your team. But nonetheless, give me the Seahawks to win that game. So thank you guys for watching. Sorry about the late upload, but I'll be back next week for another video, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out.